Okay, I'm ready. All right, so basically, I'm Valerie Johnson. I specialize in treating Parkinson's disease. I have a doctorate in physical therapy from Texas. Can't hear me? Oh, it looks like it's not working. Thank you. Okay. It was working just a second ago.
Yes, it was. Maybe the battery. And then we've got somebody.
Okay, I'm gonna try to yell. And then once we get the mic, just let me know if you can't hear me still when I'm yelling, okay? All right, I don't have a very loud voice. Y'all can teach me some things about speech therapy. Okay, so again, Valerie Johnson. I started balance therapy in 2013, but we just moved here this summer from Fort Worth. So I'm kind of restarting balance therapy here in Dallas, and that's why I'm just now getting to meet you guys. So I'm so happy to finally meet you. Thank you so much for having me. I've heard so much about you guys for years. So right now we have this cute little space in North Oak Cliff, right by Bishop Arts. But I'm also a mobile facility, so I can come to y'all if you're having trouble. I specialize in treating Parkinson's disease, and I also specialize in imbalance and dizziness disorders. So anything from vertigo to fall prevention, to learning how to fall, anything on there, I solely focus on those issues. Okay? That man at the top, his name is Red. He was my grandfather. He had early onset Parkinson's disease, and for reasons I can't explain, I feel so called to do this work partially because of him, even though I never got to meet him, actually. That's my family right there. We have a daughter named Parker. Coincidentally, we didn't name her Parker because I'm a Parkinson's therapist. That's a coincidence. I still love you guys, though. Okay. All right, so special thanks to Becky Farley. She's my mentor. She's the PT, PhD that's behind the big therapy and the power therapy. Awesome. Hello. Yay. Okay, Becky Farley, we're so lucky to have her. She is really made the world a better place for people with Parkinson's and Parkinson's professionals alike. And she is my spirit animal. Okay, so why exercise? This is why. Exercise is a means of rewiring the neural connections in your brain. All right, so you aren't stuck with the brain you have, you can change it. Okay, so we use these specific methods to train your brain to rewire itself in order to move and function better on a daily basis. Okay, so there are these specific principles that are for Parkinson's that you want to maintain when you're exercising. I'm going to go over all of that today. The other thing you can do is mental exercises and mindfulness tools can also help to rewire your brain so that you be exercising better and just having a better life. Rewiring neural circuits is not that, it's challenging. It just takes a little bit of finesse because it takes a lot of effort. So really these movements and these strategies are about bringing out effort in your movements, and then you practice them over and over. And in order for you to practice them over and over without getting bored, you have to use a little creativity. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please don't be. I wrote this ebook talking about everything that I'll be discussing today in this talk. So you don't have to remember everything I say. I don't even remember everything I'm supposed to say, so you can reference it. Just go to my website, balancetherapytoday.com, and you can download it there for free. Okay? In there's also a resource list that you can just pick up and put down whenever you're looking for new ideas, new resources, or motivation. Motivation isn't always going to come from deep within, even if you don't have Parkinson's disease, so you can outsource that kind of thing. That's why the self-help industry is booming right now. So why are we still talking about exercise for Parkinson's? I'm sure at this point you guys have heard of it, right? It keeps coming up because despite all the exciting evidence that's come out in recent years about the benefits of exercise, the majority of people with Parkinson's are still not exercising. So the other problem is that So in addition to being a little out of shape possibly when they get diagnosed, they've already also withdrawn from leisure activities, recreational activities, and sports. And so not only are they a little out of shape, but they also now have to embrace this lifestyle change. Okay, so the result is with Parkinson's, everybody has trouble over a long period of time. They have this increasingly difficult time with body and spatial awareness, okay? And that's expedited by not being active. So the more active and the more dynamic you're moving and interacting with your environment, the better oriented you stay in space and in relationship to your body. So the problem with Parkinson's, as y'all know, is that it happens so slowly over such a long period of time that these changes happen without your awareness necessarily, unless you're using these exercises, intentionally to increase your awareness. You have a hard time correcting these small and slow movements because they sneak up on you. Okay, so the answer really, as far as movement goes, is to find a program that's specific for you. And that starts really with a physical therapist. Ideally, you're referred to a Parkinson-specific physical therapist at diagnosis. And then you check back in with that physical therapist every 6 months to a year, okay? Or sooner if there's a decline or a fall. And what that does is the physical therapist helps you identify what your biggest opportunities are, because they say, if you've met one person with Parkinson's disease, you've met one person with Parkinson's disease. There are some general guidelines that you want to maintain, but everybody's different, and everybody's specific opportunities are a little bit unique. So they can guide you in which exercises are your biggest opportunities. And also, between stints of physical therapy, you maintain your gains through these maintenance exercise programs. And the physical therapist can also help you find the one that's the most appropriate for you, the one that's not too easy or not too challenging, just the right one for you. It's not easy to do this by yourself. That's basically the take-home message. Without this lack of body and spatial awareness, you kind of need somebody else squawking at you, somebody like myself or a coach or a trainer or a class or a peer that kind of keeps you honest about how you're moving, giving you honest feedback and egging you on. Okay, so while you're asking for help, in addition to finding a physical therapist, you want to find a team that can be, there's a whole range of specialties that can help people with Parkinson's that you may or may not be utilizing. So in that, for example, it could be a psychologist, a neuropsychologist, a neuropsychiatrist, movement disorder neurologist. We know from the research that people with a movement disorder specialist as opposed to a general neurologist just do better. They have better outcomes. And you can also find a speech therapist. Ask yourself, really one of the most important things that you can do is ask yourself if you're lonely. If the answer is yes, then take it seriously, because loneliness is the number one way to expedite your progression of Parkinson's disease. Because we are social animals, really, the ones that cultivate and protect their deep, meaningful personal relationships do better with Parkinson's. The more that they do for others that they care about, the more likely they are to make healthy life decisions for themselves. So do nice things for other people. They don't even have to know why you're being so nice to them. just keep it up. Okay, so why exercise for Parkinson's? Because this is the exciting part of it. The neuroscience is that by exercising, you increase these substances in your brain that protect your old neurons and help you grow new ones. Okay, so what's left of the dopaminergic system, right? What's left, it protects them and it keeps them around longer, which is very helpful. Also, it helps sprout new neural pathways to compensate for that dwindling supply of the dopamine neurons. You don't grow new dopamine neurons, however, you do grow more receptors, which means whatever dopamine you are still producing in your brain just drinks it up better and faster. So your brain is working more efficiently. And then you can find other pathways for movement by using, the motor cortex, for example, to help you learn how to move. And then the more you practice it, the more sensitive and what's the word I'm looking for? Established these new pathways become. Okay, so you're rewiring your brain, right? It suppresses motor symptoms. Just like medication, exercise suppresses symptoms. So the severity of your symptoms decreases bradykinesia, decreases rigidity and tremor. It also improves non-motor symptoms such as constipation, difficulty sleeping, fatigue, cognition, and even, stress, anxiety, depression, and pain. Really the best way, in my opinion, to manage your Parkinson's in general is to find the exact right amount of medication, work with your movement disorder neurologist, take the right dose on time, and then exercise when your meds are on. People who exercise and take meds do better than just taking meds alone, right? Also, the research shows if you exercise when your meds are on, when they're peaking, then you get more bang for your buck. That being said, people that do exercise regularly are on less medication. They don't require as much medication, so that just means less side effects. Always a good thing. Okay, so a lot of effort and a lot of repetition is what it takes. We like to say in therapy, if it isn't challenging you, it isn't changing you. So that's a good rule of thumb. The key is to push beyond your self-selected pace, intensity, and range of motion. Again, not easily done alone. So with cardio, you get your heart rate up. By getting your heart rate up, you're increasing blood flow to your brain, which brings those substances that protect your neurons and help you grow new ones. That's what you do with your cardio. Also, cardio lights up the parts of your brain that are responsible for learning. So a lot of the science that we use to study Parkinson's is based on learning science. It's all about, because with Parkinson's disease, you basically have to relearn what normal movement feels like in all aspects of your daily life for the rest of your life. Constantly relearning, constantly outsmarting your brain. So we study, how does the brain learn best? Under what conditions and what practices does the brain learn best? So we got your cardio, right? Check. Then there's skill acquisition. Let's talk about skills some more. Let me explain. So things like walking, getting out of bed, getting in and out of the car, bathtub, on and off the floor, rolling over in bed, these are all skills. Skills that you had to learn how to do at one point, and with Parkinson's, you kind of have to learn how to do them again. So from now on, when you're getting out of a chair, for example, I don't want you to think of that as an everyday normal movement. Think of it more as an extreme sport, okay? So these skill exercises that we use in power therapy and big therapy, they're actually just glorified versions of everyday movements. So for example, getting out of a chair would look kind of like this. Okay, and then I'll tell you some more about it. We've got exercises they're choreographed dances of everyday movements. Okay, can you play this video for me? Okay, this is my daughter. This is Parker, which is the first time she ever walked. I'm sorry about her hair. It was crazy hair day at school. But I want you to pay attention to a couple things here. She's got some skills that she's developed in order to walk. And there's a very distinctive weight shift. Do you see that? Shift to the side, shift, and then that nice wide base of support, okay? With Parkinson's disease, it can sneak up on you and make your feet closer together, and making weight shifting harder and less obvious and less easy for your brain. Therefore, making it harder to clear one foot. You spend a lot more time with Parkinson's with both feet on the ground. It really, I'm gonna wait. Can we go to the next slide? I'll just take it to the next slide, okay? It's distracting. Okay, here's the deal with walking. Walking is very dynamic. It's basically just controlled falling. You're really meant to spend most of your time on one leg, and it's kind of like a hop and a skip onto the next leg. You're not meant to spend a lot of time with both feet on the ground, which is what happens with Parkinson's. It wastes a ton of energy and it slows you down. All right, so just by practicing weight shifts and stretching out your steps, you can kind of get that groove back in your steps. Okay, some other good rules of thumb. You want to exercise, you learn better, you gain skills more in an enriched environment. And all that means is be mindful of who you're with and where you are. You want to be having positive interactions with others and your environment. Emotionally gratifying. You really want to tap into the reward system. It's got to be emotionally agreeable to you. You know, if you hate every second of it, your brain's not going to think it's important enough to remember. Your movements, you want them to be full body movements that are big and fast. Small and fast movements are actually not hard for people with Parkinson's. If you think about the shuffling gait, the cadence of the steps are actually super quick. They're just tiny. And so it's the big and fast movements that are challenging. You want to establish some external cues. So other than having somebody like me walking at you while you're moving and giving you feedback, there's other things you can do. You can use visual targets. So having something to reach for, like for example, we'll put painter's tape on the wall and you can reach and touch for it. That way you know you're reaching that far every time and you're not getting smaller and smaller with each rep. Finding targets on the floor to step on or slap. If we're trying to get you to move faster, we might have you slap the target rather than just simply reach for it. Punching targets is a good way to bring out more normal speed, bringing out effort, so to speak, and bigness at the same time, taking up more space with quickness. Okay, there's just while I'm on the subject of visuals, mirrors don't work very well. So watching yourself in the mirror doesn't work very well for people with Parkinson's disease because your brain will only see what it wants to see. So you really kind of take it out from your visual that way and really get into feeling what normal movement feels like. Okay, there's some other ways. So there are these vibro swings. Let me show you. Have you guys seen these before? Okay, these are Smoothie vibro swings. Have you seen them before? Okay, good. I'm so excited. Okay, so there are these heavy weighted balls in here, and they vibrate when you swing them around. So when people walk, we have them throw these things at the ground, and not only can they hear if their arms are moving, but they can feel it. And so if one arm starts, getting small and stops moving, you'll know right away. It's a form of feedback. It's really interesting. They're not cheap. These were $200. They're $200 on Amazon, but I know I paused several times before I bought them, but they're amazing for Parkinson's. You can walk with them, and I know some people that they'll do like a vibro swing warm up every day, and that's their little Parkinson's warm up for the day. There's YouTube videos using these things, and it also comes with a DVD. Okay, I don't work for them, by the way. They should be paying me to say this. Okay, that's an example. Also, walking sticks. I don't know if you guys have ever tried pole walking for Parkinson's. Anybody tried pole walking? Ooh, okay. Okay, this is a great opportunity. You guys, first of all, this is athletic equipment, not an assisted device. You can go ahead and lose that stigma. You want to basically get feedback. So it increases confidence because now, let's say you're not just getting information about what the ground is like through your feet, you're getting information through your hands. So you don't stare at the ground as much, so it straightens you up, all right? And you save a ton of energy when you walk with walking sticks because you start swinging your arms more and it keeps your posture more upright, okay? So it's like this. This is one example of just walking with walking sticks. And you'll notice right away, if you start dragging one arm, you'll be aware of it and you'll pick up the slack. Make sense? So we'll have pole walking classes for Parkinson's. And not only do we walk in the classes, but we do drills with them, all kinds of exercises you can do with poles. So like, for example, as you squat down, you stick your arms out, and the sticks help you spread out in space. Even when you're kind of lengthening out in two directions when you use sticks, as opposed to kind of dropping and collapsing in on yourself. Okay. These were $15 on Amazon. Rhythm tubes. Walking to the beat of your rhythm tubes, you'll start to notice if you're speeding up by the sound of your rhythm tubes. Things like that. Lots of fun stuff you can do with rhythm tubes, hitting things, targets, etc. Okay. Let's see, I think so basically, the other thing I'm going to mention is music. Using music, especially that you enjoy, is huge. You're tapping into the reward system, right? But also with Parkinson's, slowly over time, you lose this internal sense of rhythm that's required for things like walking and swinging your arms. So using music just to give you some kind of sense of rhythm is really helpful, and it keeps you going a little bit faster. You can also use metronomes. There are cell phone apps with metronome apps on them, but they're not as, easy on the ears as music is. So find some music you enjoy. Another thing I'll do in therapy is put tambourines on your feet. There are tambourines that actually go on your feet that I'll put on people's feet so they can hear themselves walking in the rhythm of their steps. And if one foot's kind of speeding up, they'll notice right away. Boom whackers, I already showed you the boom whackers of those rhythm tubes. And then voice recordings, video feedback is another huge one. So instead of using mirrors, you take a video of yourself and then watch it. We do this a lot in therapy. I'll take a video of somebody moving and then I'll show it to them. And they'll realize, whoa, you're right. Like, I really didn't stand up all the way, or I really was rushing that, or whatever. I'm not straightening my arms out all the way. The same thing goes with voice recordings. If you've ever heard a voicemail of your own voice that you left, you'll notice that you're not speaking loudly. You don't really know until retrospectively you take a better look at it. And then with enough practice and awareness building through exercises, you learn to cue internally. Okay, weight shifting. Weight shifting is a skill. In these exercises, you're going to feel like you're leaning your shoulders so far from side to side that one hip just wants to come off the chair, or one foot just wants to come off the ground, okay? That's kind of what it takes. It's a lot of leaning, and then we make it fast enough until you can find this kind of rocking rhythmic sensation. That's when you know you've got momentum and that you're moving fast enough. Let's see. So, for example, in this top corner, I'm trying to get him not only to take a step, but to actually shift his weight onto that foot. So we'll give him, a pull to hug to make sure that he's actually effectively shifting weight. People will try to keep both feet on the ground, okay? So another weight shifting exercise, we'll go forward and back for walking. Let's say the movement is this. They'll try to dip straight down instead of shifting weight towards the front foot or towards the back foot in order to pick it up. So if you don't shift your weight off of one foot, it's going to stay heavy and it's going to be hard to lift off the ground. So here, instead of dragging their foot back, a heavy foot back, you shift your weight off of it, pick it up and place it. Does that make sense? Okay. So we do weight shifting exercises actually in all postures. So we'll do on your stomach, laying on your stomach, laying on your back, laying on your side, tall kneeling, on all fours we'll do weight shifting exercises, so that you really, in order to get from here to there, you won't move unless you shift weight, really. Okay? Okay, spine flexibility. It's really hard to move with a stiff spine. So a lot of these movements are twisting motions. They're kind of spiraling in and out of in ranges of motion, stretching motions. You don't really hold exercises with Parkinson's. The research shows that it's better if you kind of move between two extremes back and forth, okay? So I'm giving him a hand up there to reach for so he knows that he's gone far enough, and then he'll kind of needle through, and I'll say, make sure that you reach past the edge of that table every time. Otherwise, people will start kind of sneaking in on top of themselves and start getting smaller with each rep, okay? All right, so now we're gonna combine weight shifting, spine flexibility, and posture. I haven't talked about posture yet. 1 second, back up. Okay, posture exercises. We do a lot of exercises where basically with Parkinson's, what happens is the muscles in the front of your body, the flexors, become too tight and too strong, and they overpower the extensors, the muscles that hold you upright against gravity, the muscles in the back of your body. So a lot of the exercises we do stretch the front of the body and fire up and strengthen the muscles in the back of the body to hold you upright. And relearning where true upright is something sometimes you have to do slowly. Your brain starts to think that this is really upright, okay? So postural orientation and strengthening. So what we'll do is just practice going in and out. So if you'll watch this guy, would you mind playing this for me? Thank you so much. Okay, this is my favorite model, Bob. Okay, so, oh man, it's sideways. Okay, hopefully you can still see this. All right, so what was happening is that he would stand up from the chair and, good, it stopped. He would stand up from the chair and try to take a step before he had finished shifting weight onto his feet. And so he would stand up and try to walk, and he would fall to the right, okay? So I had him break it up. What we'll do is we'll break up one motion into 4 parts, for example. So this was 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. If you break up a big movement into parts, it becomes easier to move all of a sudden. Okay? So in order to get him to stop rushing this first weight shift, I had him say bam. So he would go bam, like that. And he got to use his voice and get a better sense of timing and weight shifting. Make sense? Okay. Okay, so there's classes. This is an example of a posture exercise, really using your extensors to hold your body up. And you can do it one-on-one with a therapist, or we have power moves classes where you can do it with each other. It's kind of fun. And then you discourage these flexors from overpowering the extensors, okay? Okay, here's an example of some walking training that we'll do that has to do with posture. So Bob, actually, he has some dystonia. So would you mind playing this one for me? Okay, so right now Bob is wearing a backpack backwards with a 15-pound sandbag in it. Oh man, it's sideways again. Anyway, I did that to, just by adding that weight to the front of his body, it was enough to kick in his extensors and he started standing up straight. And it felt weird to him. You don't even realize those muscles aren't really firing until you get them to fire. And he was walking more upright and he was hitting with his heel. It's really hard to take big enough steps when your hips are way back there. Okay? Okay, so here's an example. This is more pole walking. These are kind of pole walking and pole drilling examples where you're combining full body coordinated limb movements. Really good for Parkinson's. Poles really help you stay honest with your movements. Okay, here, transitional movements. So things like changing directions. He would have, like many people, would have a hard time. As soon as he'd change directions, his feet would get close together and he'd start shuffling. And so I would give him something to step over, then he'd have to step over it again, then he'd have to step over it again, and then he'd go to that side of the room, change directions without something to step over, and see if he could emulate that. So this is kind of how you train it. Will you play this one for me? Thank you. Okay, so here he goes. Step over, and through. See if he can do it without. Step over, and through. Did it. I was so excited. It's really fun. You can kind of retrain the patterns of your walking. Okay, does anybody have freezing here? 1 in 3 people with Parkinson's have trouble with freezing. Okay, there's something called the 5S method. Has anybody heard of it? Okay, I'll try to make this quick. The 5S method, it's hard to remember, but you work with a therapist if you need to, and you practice it over and over and over, and it starts to help you stop freezing. So what happens is, let's say you're walking, and one of the first things that happens with freezers is their weight is shifted too far forward, and as soon as their weight goes onto their toes, it triggers a freeze, okay? So the first thing you have to do is stop, because the more you fight your busy feet, your fussy feet, the worse that the freezing gets. So stopping yourself is the hardest part. Getting yourself to stop is very counterintuitive. You would rather try to fight it. So getting people to stop, it sets reset on your brain, okay? Stops the cycle. And then you kind of have to shake it off because it's stressful when you freeze. And stress can make freezing worse, right? So you kind of shake it off, regroup. Then first you get tall. So we got to get your weight. You got to stop, stand tall, get your weight off of your toes and back onto your heels. Okay? Shake it off. Then you start shifting weight. It's really hard to freeze when your weight is shifting. So you start moving your hips side to side, and then when your leg is ready to come off the ground, you take a big marching step and you hit with your heel, and then you keep going. So that's the 5S method. There are other methods for unfreezing that you can do, like counting backwards from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and step hitting with your heel. Singing a song can help people, like sing Staying Alive while you're stepping, that kind of thing. Okay. Anyway, there are lots of strategies to stop freezing. It's important that you identify what your triggers are. So, for example, they can be emotional. It can be stress that makes it worse, for example, or it can be going from a carpet surface to a tile surface or through a doorway. Whether you realize it or not, that serves as a distraction to your brain, and it's enough to trigger a freezing event. So identifying your triggers can be really helpful, and then you learn to kind of like Joe, imagine that there's a big bar or something that you're stepping over when you go through a door or something like that. Strategies. Okay. Progressive aerobic exercise. So increasing the blood flow to your brain, we know, is super important. It lights up the working memory and the attention centers of the brain, so it primes your brain to learn new skills, so you can start honing in on your skills. All right. So improves learning, right? It reduces oxidative stress, it reduces inflammation, it makes your brain essentially younger, it slows down brain aging. Okay, so you know you're working hard enough at cardio if you can only speak in short sentences. That's like the easiest way. If you want to get more technical, ask somebody like me or a coach or your doctor to help you calculate your target heart rate and invest in a heart rate monitor. There are some, like my watch has one. I've got a smartwatch. And then there's some other apps that you can get on your watch, or, you know, those Fitbits or whatever. Okay? And use that as a guide to know how am I working hard enough. It'll give you feedback. You know, for brain health, you want to work your way up to it, right? It's progressive, so you're not going to just go crazy on the first day. You can start out with interval training, let's say less than a minute at a time, and then you increase those intervals as you get better at it. You know, decrease the frequency of your rest breaks. But intervals are brilliant for Parkinson's disease because short bursts of activity are also enough to kind of hold your attention. So it keeps you present and actively engaged and intentional about how you're moving when you're moving. Okay, go ahead. Did somebody ask me a question?
No, I was laughing at the dog.
Oh, yeah. You can try to play that video if you want. I don't know, it might go sideways on us. Okay, so some ways to know how hard you're working is to like set the speed on your treadmill to be slightly, even the dog can figure out how to cheat. Oh my gosh, lazy dog. So treadmills, brilliant for Parkinson's disease. Set it a little bit faster than you would prefer and just go to town, okay? Additionally, you can use music. Okay, all right, so I had my friend Crystal, she has Parkinson's, show us a couple quick videos of how she gets ready in the morning, how to bring it all back home for you. Like, how do you actually implement these things into your daily life? And this is what she does every single morning. 30 minutes after she takes her meds, she goes in and she makes her bed with zest. Will you play that top video for me? Okay, so this is Crystal, this is just a minute long. And you can see she's got some gusto when she's making her bed. And she starts fluffing her pillows. That's a nice word for that. It's kind of a violent pillow fluffing session. And by the time she's done making her bed, her heart rate has gone up 25 points. Brilliant, brilliant way to start the day. So we've got increased blood flow to the brain. Her brain is primed and ready to practice her skills, okay? So will you show the next down video below? Then this is her Power Moves warm-up right after she makes her bed. She starts going through her power moves, and then she's kind of ready for the rest of the day to move and function for the rest of the day. This isn't really even her workout. This is just a beautiful little ritual that she does. Okay, awesome. She wanted me to tell you about this heart rate monitor. It's called, I can't remember. Sorry. Okay, so let's just quickly review why this guy is working out so well with his Parkinson's disease. One, he's got auditory cues. He's using music that he enjoys. He's got tactile cues with his vibro swings. His steps are nice and big in coordination with those vibro swings. He's got an accountability partner, me, chasing after him, taking videos and squawking at him. He's got cardio and skills training at the same time. That's good bang for your buck. Walking is a skill. He's in an enriched environment. It's a beautiful day outside. Going outside is one of the best ways to get into an enriched environment that's handy. And then it's emotionally agreeable. I assume he's having a good time. Okay. All right, here's some of my favorite exercise classes. There are a bunch of great exercise classes for Parkinson's. These are the ones that I teach because I enjoy teaching them. But you guys obviously all know about, rock steady boxing and spin classes. All beautiful if that's what you're into. I have a dance background, so I figure everybody else has got rock steady boxing covered for me. I don't need to do that one. Okay, here we go. Here's a high intensity interval training class. So skills and cardio. We do like 50-second intervals through stations where I have them run with a really wide base or step up on huge steps, working on all kinds of things. We use these straps in Parkinson's a lot just because, every time you move, your arms just get bigger, basically. They kind of help spread you out. It's okay to hold on to stuff. Really, in the beginning, as long as you're just moving bigger, it doesn't matter really that you're needing support. As long as you can kind of fully functionally move through the movement pattern, that's the most important thing in the beginning. And as your balance gets better, you can decrease your reliance on those things. Okay, this is a Power Moves class. Can you play this one for me? Here, and there's actually some method behind this. This is an exercise modification from this move. Let me see if I can show you. This is one of the power moves where you go open, open, and you know that you're moving fast enough if you can hear the clap. If you can't hear the clap, it's a sign that you're probably moving a little too slowly. Okay? Effort. Pole walking classes, not only do we walk with the poles, but we do drills with them. There's all kinds of drills you can do with the poles. stepping in multiple directions, trying not to fall over. Okay, questions?
Where do you get the power poles? Where would you buy them?
You can get them at Academy or some kind of store like that. Don't buy the most expensive one. These things can get really expensive. I mean, you know, they can be made of titanium. You don't need that, really. You just need the feedback. So buy like the cheapest pair on Amazon. These were probably $20. Okay. Amazon, do y'all use Amazon? That's where I get everything. Everything, like all of my, that's where I got my smoothie rings. That's pretty specialized. So, yeah. Okay, Pilates for PD. Okay, I have a question mark there because that I know of, there isn't a Pilates for Parkinson's class. However, I've been approached and asked to teach one, which I can do. We have a big Pilates studio full of reformers, and I think it'd be really fun. But there are a few things about Pilates that I don't love for Parkinson's. For example, they do a lot of crunching, like abdominal crunching activities, and you guys tend to be really strong and overpowering in those hip flexors and crunching muscles anyway, so you basically just modify Pilates and avoid those things, and then it's beautiful. Here, he's got a problem with falling backwards on the stairs, so we're practicing extending his hips from a flexed position, which helps him, get that pattern of walking up the stairs without leaning backwards. Can you show that video real quick? This is on the reformer. See? That's a spring-loaded resistance. It's like resistance training, basically. Yeah. It's kind of fun. Okay. Oh, ooh, this is really fun. Do we have any audio, or is it? I forgot about this one. Dance for PD classes. So you can get trained by the Dance for PD training is out of Brooklyn. The Mark Morris Dance Company does it. So I went to Brooklyn for 2 trainings, and this is one of the pieces they did in New York. It's just a minute of it, but I wanted to show you. It's way better if you have it with the music, but would you mind playing this one for me? Oh, thank you so much. I don't know if we have audio, but this is at a big venue in New York. And it's a mixture of professional dancers and people with Parkinson's. So there's some professional dancers, punctuated in there, like yelling out cues, and then there's one leading the group in the front. But the music is just amazing. I wish I had time to show you guys the whole thing. It's just like full body chills. This would be my dream. I really like the choreography. So if y'all want to put a piece together, let me know. There you go. Okay. Sometimes I think it's brilliant if you guys go to classes that are specific for people with Parkinson's, but mixing that up, possibly depending on who you are, with just regular community classes with the general population is also really good. It can kind of help you feel normal and challenged in a different way. So, if you need more of a challenge, sometimes you can find that in the community. Online, there's a lot of exercise programs online on my resource list. I think the Peloton is really, really good outlet. If you can swing it, it's basically like a virtual class that you can join all day, every day, and they kind of coach you through it, in a live class out of your house, basically. So you feel like you're still, it's a lot better than just getting on your stationary bicycle at home and getting on autopilot. Okay. There's also apps on your cell phone that you can use, exergaming. Like, for example, there's an app where you use headphones and it's got a GPS tracker, and it makes you think that zombies are chasing you, and you're like pretend running from zombies. It's like an interval training. That's one example. Okay, start sooner the better, right? The sooner you start to exercise, the better, because you still have more neurons, dopamine neurons there, that you can keep around longer if you protect them earlier in the game. Okay, the damaged circuits also got better. They developed more receptors, so they were drinking up more dopamine. See. Okay, It's not too late though. Later exercisers still benefited from the program. It just took them longer to realize and feel the benefits of the exercise program. So basically it just means be patient with yourself as you embrace that lifestyle change. Wherever you are in your Parkinson's journey, it will still rewire your brain. Okay, changing habits. What does the research say? The best way to change a habit they're saying now is just first, instead of taking something away from yourself, add in something tiny that's healthy, like something that's easy, like I'm gonna drink more water. I'm gonna drink 1 full thermos full of water a day and increase that over time. And then whenever you do accomplish that, you pat yourself on the back big time. You celebrate little successes, and then you're more likely to engage in rewarding behaviors like that. The other healthy behavior choices kind of unfold naturally if you start small by adding stuff, and then you get kind of into it that way. Make sense? Okay. Tapping into the reward system is what it's all about. Okay, what can you do when you aren't exercising? You can't exercise all the time, right? You've got to rest and recover. That's just as important. There are injuries and illnesses that you're going to be possibly confronted with, and there's still a lot of things that you can do. Let's talk about those. Puttering around. Puttering around is good for Parkinson's, okay? Remember my friend making her bed? Putter around with zest. Okay, comedy, watch a comedy. People with Parkinson's watched a comedy, and then afterwards they were more likely to make healthy life decisions. Sleep, easier said than done, right? For some people with Parkinson's disease. Probably a good time to remind you that exercise helps with your sleep, helps you sleep better at night. Also, if you're really needing to stay awake, exercise, going through a little power moves, warm up or something can help, wake you up a little bit. So can socializing, by the way. Make sure your meds are right, okay? Because if you're not on just the right amount at night, it can wake you up, either due to side effects or not being on enough. The other thing I'll say about sleep that's the most exciting thing right now for sleep science is cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. There are therapists and books that specialize in this just for sleep. So for example, a cognitive behavioral therapy technique for sleep would be, once you get in bed, in a dark room, right, and you're awake more than 15 minutes, don't stay in bed. You have to make yourself get out of bed, go into another room that's dimly lit, and do something boring, like reading, until you're drowsy again. When you're drowsy, you go back to bed, so that your brain starts to associate your bedroom with somewhere that you go to sleep and not where you go to think. Little things like that. There's books on it you can look into. It's really interesting. Okay. So because you're going to be exercising and wanting to function at the next level for as long as possible, there takes a certain amount of mental and emotional strength, and that is something that you can build and strengthen with therapy and exercises. So breathing is one of the fastest ways to relax. It's like, there's the fight-flight system, and then there's the rest and digest system. You want to hang out most of the time and rest and digest, and then whenever something stressful happens, it's totally normal to go into flight-fight mode. You kind of look over the fence and wave at it, and then you come down and go back into parasympathetic. But some people can kind of get stuck in the fight-flight overdrive, and that happens if you have chronic stress. So you can use breathing techniques to kind of trick your brain into thinking you're relaxed to help break up chronic stress, but also recover from stressful events quicker. There's just a couple guidelines, really breathing into your belly. So you can even put your hands on your abdomen, and when you inhale, you kind of, your abdomen kind of poofs out. And then when you exhale, your belly button falls back down towards your spine. Another good way to do that while you're at it is by prolonging your exhales. So take a normal inhale, and then you want your exhale to be twice as long. That tricks your brain into thinking you're calm. Okay? This is really exciting for me, opportunity. We're almost done. Visualization and mental rehearsal. This is a well-established practice among athletes, competitive athletes, and has been since the 1930s. So what you do, mental rehearsal is a cognitive rehearsal of a physical activity. And it's has the best effects, really, if you combine it with physical activity. So you practice it mentally in your mind. And when you're doing it in your mind, imagine, for me, it would be dance. For somebody else, it might be playing, 9 holes of golf. But you really imagine, like, that motion in all of its glory and in its fullest expression in your imagination. It turns out it uses similar pathways as actually doing the motion in real life. So if you combine the two, you're priming your brain to move better later. And then you have more, longer term benefits if you do both. Practice both. Rehearse and then do it physically. Mindfulness meditations, I think the easiest way really, guys, is to get a guided meditation. They're free on YouTube. Mindfulness meditations are the ones that are most supported by the research for chronic conditions. The benefits are just, there's 100 of them. But improved mood, improved relationships, improved cognition, decreased pain. Those are just examples, to name a few. So what I would do is get an app on your phone or a free YouTube guided meditation and start there. You just try to follow the prompts as best you can. And what you do is you learn to kind of notice your thoughts without judgment and then quiet your mind. Okay, gratitude, deep appreciation, awareness for, and reverence for something that you have received. You can practice gratitude. I'm just going to read these out loud to you because the benefits are crazy good. It's really hard I like this one the best because it's instant gratification. It's hard not to feel warm and fuzzy while you're doing it and afterwards. So research says it increases emotional well-being. You're more relaxed, more resilient, less envious, happier memories, kinder, more social,